Jennifer had always been an awkward and clumsy girl. At school, she was constantly the target of jokes and malicious teasing from her classmates. Her appearance during adolescence, with braces and pimples on her face, only worsened the situation. To top it off, her parents owned a funeral home in the small town where they lived, which led to even more mockery. "Hey, clumsy Jenny, watch out not to trip over your own feet," the boys shouted down the school hallway. The girls whispered and laughed as she walked by. "Look at her hair. It looks like it was combed by a zombie," they said amidst bursts of laughter. Jennifer tried to ignore them, but the words hurt. She took refuge in the library during breaks, dreaming of the day when everything would be different. "One day I'll be in a position of prominence and they'll see," she thought, while leafing through adventure books, imagining herself as the brave heroine of the stories. At home, her parents tried to comfort her. "Don't mind what they say, dear. You're special in your own way," her mother said, hugging her. But Jennifer saw the concern in their eyes. The family business did not help her popularity. The children called her Corpse Girl and made up macabre stories about her sleeping in coffins. Despite the difficulties, Jennifer was studious and determined. She immersed herself in books, seeking to escape the cruel reality of school. Her grades were excellent and the teachers praised her. This only increased the envy and taunts from her classmates. The worst of all was Edgar. Tall, athletic, and the undisputed leader of the most popular group in school, he seemed to have made it his favourite pastime to make Jennifer's life miserable. Whenever he saw her, he found a new way to humiliate her, and his followers made sure the mockery echoed down the hallways. "Look who's here! Clumsy Jenny, ready for another show of stumbling?" he would shout whenever she entered the cafeteria, ensuring that everyone turned to look at her. If Jennifer dropped her pencil case or accidentally bumped into a desk, Edgar was the first to applaud sarcastically. "And there she goes again? Someone bring a helmet for our dear disaster specialist?" The taunts also came in a more subtle form, but were equally painful. When Jennifer correctly answered a question in class, Edgar would sigh loudly and comment, "Of course, the cemetery nerd always has all the answers. She must be friends with the dead because the living can't stand her." If she walked down the corridors carrying books, he would pretend to trip beside her, purposely dropping her things and then apologizing with a fake smile. "Wow, Jenny, what a lack of coordination on my part. I think I caught that from you." Every scornful look, every stifled laugh when she passed, every time he called her Corpse Girl or Queen of Disasters, chipped away at her self-esteem a little more. The years went by, and Jennifer grew up, finding her style and place in the world. In college, far from that stifling town, she blossomed. Her shy and awkward demeanor gave way to a confident and articulate woman. The pimples vanished, the braces came off, and she learned to dress in a way that highlighted her natural beauty. More importantly, Jennifer discovered her professional calling. She graduated with honors and quickly stood out in the job market. Her ability to lead teams and solve complex problems allowed her to rise rapidly in her career. At 35, Jennifer was a respected and successful professional. She had just been hired to lead a team on an important project at a new company. It was a golden opportunity, and she was excited to begin. On the morning of her first day, Jennifer woke up early, full of expectations. She took a long shower, letting the hot water relax her muscles and calm her mind. She carefully chose her favorite outfit, a well-tailored navy blue suit that gave her an air of authority without seeming too severe. Looking at herself in the mirror, Jennifer barely recognized the insecure girl she once had been. Her brown hair, once unruly, now fell in soft waves over her shoulders. Her green eyes shone with confidence. She smiled at her reflection, feeling ready to face any challenge. Arriving at the company, Jennifer was received with respect and cordiality. The receptionist informed her that the team was already gathered in the conference room, awaiting her presentation. With firm steps and a smile on her face, Jennifer headed there. Upon entering the room, Jennifer felt all eyes turned toward her. She began to scan the team, ready to greet them, when her gaze fixed on a familiar face. The smile froze on her lips. There was Edgar, the one responsible for turning her teenage years into a nightmare. Time seemed to have been kinder to him than Jennifer remembered. His hair, once coal-black, now had grey strands at the temples. Some wrinkles had formed around his eyes, but the smile was the same as always. For a moment, Jennifer felt as if she were 15 again. All the insecurity and fear she thought she had overcome came rushing back. Her voice faltered as she tried to introduce herself, and she had to clear her throat several times. "Excuse me," she murmured, hurriedly leaving the room. In the hallway, Jennifer took a deep breath, trying to compose herself. She drank a glass of water, her hands trembling slightly. "Jennifer, get a grip. You are a competent adult woman," she repeated to herself like a mantra. Then a sudden thought hit her. This was the opportunity she had always wanted. The chance to get revenge, to show Edgar how much she had changed and grown. A slow smile formed on her lips. "He will pay for everything he did," she thought, adjusting the collar of her blazer. With renewed poise, Jennifer returned to the conference room. This time her presentation was impeccable. She spoke with clarity and authority about her plans for the project, her expectations for the team, and her leadership style. The team members seemed impressed and excited, including Edgar, who listened attentively without showing any signs of recognizing her. In the days that followed, Jennifer devoted herself to getting to know her team better and to the details of the project. But a part of her couldn't forget Edgar's presence. She found herself watching him from a distance, looking for signs of the cruel teenager she had known. To her surprise, Edgar seemed to be a model employee. He was always the first to arrive and the last to leave, worked hard and was well liked by his colleagues. Jennifer began assigning him the most difficult and tedious tasks, hoping to see him falter or complain. But Edgar accepted them without hesitation and completed them with excellence. One afternoon, while getting a coffee in the break room, Jennifer noticed a colourful poster on the wall. It was an announcement for a food donation campaign for needy families. Curious, she asked a colleague who was organising the initiative. "Oh, it's Edgar," replied the colleague with a smile. "He's always involved in this kind of thing. A lovely person." Jennifer was perplexed. How could the Edgar she had known, selfish and cruel, be the same man who organised charity campaigns? The confusion in her mind only grew. A few days later, Jennifer decided to have lunch at a restaurant near the office. The place was crowded, and she scanned the room with her eyes looking for an available spot when she spotted Edgar sitting alone at a table for two. She hesitated for a moment, but before she could reconsider, he looked up and saw her. "Looking for a seat?" he asked, friendly. Jennifer nodded awkwardly. "You can sit here if you like," he said, pushing the chair in front of him. "Thank you." She settled in and picked up the menu, feeling a mix of nervousness and curiosity. During the first few minutes, they exchanged casual remarks about work and the office routine. The conversation flowed effortlessly, but Jennifer noticed that Edgar seemed thoughtful, as if something was distracting him. At a certain moment, he let out a light sigh and rested his elbows on the table. "Funny how life takes turns, isn't it?" he said, looking at the cup of coffee he was holding. Jennifer looked up at him, intrigued. "What do you mean?" Edgar hesitated for a moment, but then smiled, shaking his head as if laughing at himself. "If someone had told me years ago that I would be here today, trying to be a good professional, a good father, a good person, I probably would have laughed in their face." Jennifer raised an eyebrow, interested. "And what changed?" He was silent for a moment before answering. "My daughter." His voice came out soft but laden with emotion. "She changed everything." "You know, I wasn't always who I am today," he said with a distant look. "Back in school, I was an arrogant jerk. I thought the world revolved around me." Jennifer listened intently, barely believing what she was hearing. Edgar continued. "When I was in college, my girlfriend got pregnant. It was a shock, but we decided to move forward. Our daughter was born with a congenital deformity in her legs. Suddenly, our whole world changed. He recounted how he and his girlfriend had to drop out of college to take care of the child. There were years of therapies, consultations and surgeries. "Those were difficult times," said Edgar, his voice choked with emotion. "But our daughter, she is amazing. Her strength, her joy even in the face of difficulties. She taught me so much." Jennifer felt a lump in her throat. The image she had of Edgar was dissolving before her eyes. "The arrival of my daughter was a turning point in my life," Edgar continued. "I always had everything very easy and mocked those who had difficulties or didn't fit in. Experiencing the other side of the coin made me realize how foolish I was. I love my daughter more than anything, and she has made me a better person." At that moment, Jennifer felt all the anger and resentment she had carried for years dissipate. She no longer saw Edgar as the school bully, but as a man who had learned valuable lessons through love and hardships. Jennifer decided not to reveal who she was. There was no longer a need for revenge or settling scores. Life had already taught Edgar much deeper lessons than any retaliation could. In the weeks that followed, Jennifer observed Edgar with new eyes. She saw him helping colleagues with problems, organizing more charity campaigns, always with a gentle smile on his face. The contrast with the arrogant teenager she once knew was striking. One day, after a particularly successful meeting, Jennifer called Edgar to talk in private. "Edgar," she began, feeling her heart pounding, "there is something I need to tell you." He looked at her with curiosity. "We have known each other for a long time," Jennifer continued. "In school. Well, you probably don't remember me, but—" Recognition appeared in Edgar's eyes, followed by an expression of shock and then deep embarrassment. "Jennifer," he whispered. "Oh my God, I don't know what to say. What I did to you, to so many people. I was terrible." Jennifer saw tears forming in his eyes. "It's all right, Edgar," she said softly. "People change. You changed." Edgar shook his head, still stunned. "No, it's not all right. What I did was unforgivable. I've carried this guilt for years, trying to be a better person, but I never thought I'd have the chance to apologize to those I hurt." Jennifer felt her own tears threatening to fall. "I also carried a lot for years," she admitted. "Anger, resentment. When I saw you here, my first instinct was to want revenge." Edgar looked at her, surprised. "I wouldn't have blamed you if you had done that." "But then," Jennifer continued, "I saw the man you've become, the work you do, how you treat people. And I heard your story. I realized that life had already taught you lessons much deeper than any revenge could." They remained silent for a moment, both absorbing the weight of that conversation. "Jennifer," Edgar finally spoke, "I know that words can't erase what I did, but I want you to know how sorry I am. For everything. You are an incredible woman, and I am honored to work under your leadership." Jennifer smiled, feeling a weight she didn't know she was carrying dissipate. "Thank you, Edgar. I think we both have learned a lot from life." In the months that followed, Jennifer and Edgar developed a relationship of mutual respect and even friendship. They worked together on charity projects, and Jennifer met Edgar's daughter, a young, cheerful and determined girl who reminded her a lot of herself as a teenager. Jennifer often reflected on how things had changed. The insecure girl who dreamed of revenge had transformed into a woman who found strength in forgiveness and understanding. She realized that the true victory wasn't in making others pay for their mistakes, but in growing beyond them and helping others to do the same. The project Jennifer led was a great success, largely due to the harmony and dedication of her team. At the celebration party, she looked around, seeing smiling and proud faces. Edgar was there, chatting animatedly with colleagues, his face lit up by genuine joy. At that moment, Jennifer felt deep gratitude. Gratitude for the journey that brought her there, for the lessons learned, and for the ability to grow and change. She raised her glass in a silent toast, not to revenge or resentment, but to transformation and forgiveness. The awkward girl from school had finally found her place in the world, not through retaliation but through understanding and compassion. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.